What's going on, guys? So today we're looking at a Barcroft lighter from Zippo. So this is a long time coming. I wanted to do a video on a Zippo table lighter for years, and I haven't had one in the collection. Originally I had one way back in the day and I never made a video on it. At least I don't think I made a video on it. Then I got a second, different style table lighter, and those were quickly traded off. And then I wanted to make a video, but I didn't have one. And on the secondary market, these get quite a pretty penny. But I got this one probably a year ago. And this was an eBay find. You could find these on eBay all day long. Just depends on how much you want to actually spend on these. And some of them are broken. They're in varied conditions because they're very old. A table lighter is just kind of how it sounds. It's a larger lighter. Usually it's a regular size lighter that's in a larger case that sits on a table, okay? It's heavier, so it doesn't easily get knocked over. And in this case, it's still a Zippo style lighter, all right? But the insert is exactly the same as any other Zippo, all right? It's just in this large case. And the idea is, during the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, people smoked way more than they smoke now. So when you're at some kind of a get-together or party or something, there'd be one lighter on the table that people would all use. These days we generally don't use or see table lighters. Everyone has their own lighter. You know what I'm saying? If you want to smoke a cigarette, you grab your own lighter out of your pocket. Lighters are not usually available on the tables like they were back in the day. But the idea is everyone's sitting around, a coffee table or something. They're all socializing, and you had to take a cigarette out, you go to light it, or a cigar or whatever. And the table lighter's right there. So it's a, communal lighter. It's something that everyone used. It's kind of like way back in the day when you went over to someone else's house and they had ashtrays everywhere. Sometimes people who didn't even smoke had ashtrays, knowing that their guests and other family members who come over would smoke. So every side table, every coffee table would have an ashtray and a table lighter of some kind. Now, if you get into collecting lighters in general, you'll find there are thousands and thousands and thousands of different table lighters because they were very, very popular. All right, all different brands, all different styles. But Zippo, of course, had their own. And what makes this one a little extra special is this one was an advertisement for Monsanto. Now, if you're not familiar with Monsanto, of course, you can Google them, but they are known as probably the most evil corporation in history. They've made GMO seeds as well as pesticides, and if you're very pro-environment and stuff, you probably know about Monsanto anyway. But there's a lot of history there. So I thought this was kind of interesting because this was obviously used when they were an okay company and no one cared about them. But these days it's a very bad name, Monsanto. So quick look at this, all right. Actually broke out on a ruler. This is an old ruler. This is actually from my art class in high school. You can see it's so old. There's a MySpace link here. I don't even know what this is, the Loyal. I honestly forgot all these years later. And I use this ruler very early on in all my videos to measure knives and stuff like that. But I happened to be going through some stuff. I found it here. I borrowed this for an art project. I took it home and I will return it. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. But anyway, just to give you a quick idea of its size, it is about 1 3/4, a little under 1 3/4 wide. Just over an inch, maybe 1.25 inches, by about in between 3 1/4 and 3.5 inches. All right, somewhere around there. But again, very simple concepts. We have a very heavy case and base. This one has felt on the bottom, as they all did. This one's actually in really good shape. A lot of times when you find these, especially if they were used, the felt is completely worn off and it's just like a dirty metal base. All right, but this was a nice piece of felt. You can see obviously it's wearing around the edges here, but the center is actually in really good condition. All right, you can see the hinge here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's a 5-barrel hinge. A lot of times, if you're not familiar with collecting Zippos or dating Zippos, you can date some of the really old ones by how many hinge pieces there are. But again, normal top, still has the click. Obviously sounds a little different than a small Zippo. All right, but has a normal insert that works exactly the same. You can see the hinge piece that's in here that works with the cam. Okay, that's what keeps it open so it doesn't accidentally close, and when it's closed, it doesn't accidentally open. All right, so it functions exactly the same as a regular Zippo. All right, again, here is the insert for this. This is not the original insert, as you can see from the markings there. Unfortunately, I got this with this insert in here. But if we zoom in a little bit, it might be hard to see, but way down in there, there's actually a spare wick that's curled up around a piece of metal there. All right, just in case you, you know, were using this lighter and you needed another wick. There was one stored down in the bottom. All right, we pop this insert back in. And that's pretty much it. You'd open it up, spark it like a regular Zippo, and light your cigarette, cigar, whatever you're trying to light. And then it would go back on the table for other people to use. Pretty interesting. Very, very cool, very collectible. Anything Zippo is collectible, but especially these table lighters. There's people who specifically are looking for these. I know people who have collections of just these table lighters. Now, as far as prices, of course, as you can imagine, they range quite widely. It really just depends on what advertisement or logo is on the front. All right, you're gonna spend you know, big bucks if you have something that's very recognizable, like Coca-Cola, you know, Mickey Mouse or something, some iconic type logo or image. But a lot of these were just random advertisements. I mean, Zippo, since day one, they've had great success with selling their lighters for advertisements. You know, people would buy it for their companies, put their company logos, their names on there, their addresses and phone numbers, and then give them out as gifts, give them to employees, you know. So it's just one of those things where you could see these priced anywhere. I would say a good average price for these are about $100, about $100 in working order. You know, I've seen ones go for $500, $600, $700 that again are, you know, not used, in fantastic condition with very recognizable companies and logos on them. And then I've seen them broken, you know, the hinge is broken off or something, they sell for like $40. They generally don't sell for nothing. You know, like I said, even broken ones will get a little bit of money, but super, super cool little piece of Zippo history. And again, for a well-rounded collection, definitely a must. So real quick here, I broke out one of my Zippo books just for reference. All right, this is why I have all these books in my library, all these different hobby-related stuff. So, I mean, I am really constantly referring back to them for information. Sometimes, you know, you could find information on the internet, like as far as these, there's tons of information, but I've used books where, like, you know, you go to search something and you just can't find it, but I go to, you know, written text and it's there, you know. And because I read all these books that are in my collection, I kind of vaguely remember what book may or may not have information. So this is Zippo, an American legend, a collector's companion, all right? And this goes over just some basic stuff about collecting, I mean, more of the common things. There's a little picture here. It's showing two different models. Now this is the smaller model. This had come out a little bit later. Originally, the first model was much taller and had a, I believe it was a different insert. I've never actually seen one of these in person, but this was the number 10. So it says number 10 Barcroft table lighter with George G. Blaisdell's initials, GGB, which if you don't know, George G. Blaisdell is the inventor or creator of the Zippo lighter. Standing next to the third model Barcroft introduced during the 1950s. Okay, so this is the third generation of this table lighter. All right, the first ones were not a success. In fact, if I skip down to here, it says that year also saw Zippo introduce their first table lighter named the number 10 Barcroft. This was to be the tallest of all the table lighters. It held 4 times as much fluid as the regular Zippo. It seems from the documentation that these table lighters were not a commercial success, unfortunately. Now, while I have the book out here, I'll show you real quick some other styles. All right, the Lady Barcroft. And these tend to get a little bit more money, a little bit harder to find. This is one of the most common styles of Zippo table lighters when you see them, but there are many others. The Lady Barcroft would be an awesome addition to the collection, but these do get hundreds of dollars. You'll probably never see one of these for less than $100, more than likely $200 to $300, maybe even $400 depending on the condition. Then of course we have this long cylindrical one, and again these are just regular bases with normal Zippo inserts in them. Then we had this style here. Then they also had these Corinthians, all right? So the cylindrical one was the Corinthian that held the Zippo Slim, as well as the more modern Corinthian, all right, which has more of like a bowl or cup shape. Then the last table lighter, as far as I know, that they've created was the hand light. Okay, it says the hand light replaced the Barcroft in 1979, using a similar base to that of the Corinthian. Ordinary handheld Zippos could be attached, all right? So basically, it's a regular Zippo with a base for it. So, you know, it's just, I guess, a little bit more stable on the table. Now, clearly we know if you took a regular old Zippo, a small one, and laid it on a flat table, it would probably stand up. But if the table got banged or tapped or something, it would fall over. The whole idea of a table lighter is that it's just stable, it's heavy duty, it's usually larger. I mean, all table lighters are generally large lighters. And again, it's a communal thing. It's just sitting there for anyone to just grab and use when need be. All right. So there you go. That's pretty much it as far as the table lighters go. But yeah, I just want to kind of bring this video to you guys again for the Zippo collectors out there. If you are a Zippo collector, you more than likely know about these. I mean, if you're a serious collector, if you just like the Zippos, because there's plenty of people out there who just happen to have a handful of Zippos and they might consider themselves a collector. When I talk about Zippo collectors, I really mean people who are like kind of obsessed with the hobby. You generally know all the Focus collectibles, right? When you start collecting Zippo stuff, besides actual regular Zippos, maybe collecting a bunch of the different designs you like, then you kind of expand. This is, in my opinion anyway, the journey that people take. Oh, I have a Zippo, I like Zippo, that's cool. Now I have another Zippo, all right, now I got like a handful of different Zippos. I like this, I want to collect Zippo lighters. Then you start researching, you start learning some stuff. Oh cool, Zippo's a really old brand. You know, it started in 1932. I want to get an old Zippo. So then generally you start collecting older Zippos. Then you learn about the Zippo Slim, which was originally marketed for women. It was a little bit smaller. That's a whole separate thing. I know guys and gals, actually. There's one woman that I happen to know who collects Zippo Slims. But there's people who just collect those, you know. Then you start seeing what's really heavily focused on in the Zippo collecting world are the war era stuff. The Vietnam era Zippos, super, super collectible. People who just search for those. There's tons of counterfeits and fakes out there. So that's a very tricky aspect of Zippo collecting. But then, you know, you get into other things like the table lighters. People get into, you know, like the Black Crackle Zippo. You know, there's very specific ones that are very sought after and extremely collectible. But generally speaking, I mean, people's collections could be all of the above, everything mentioned, or they could focus on one specific thing. It really is fun. Now, you don't have to get into very high, expensive, rare Zippos. You could just be buying the $10 to $25 Zippo lighters that come out every year. You know, every year there's more and more designs. There's thousands and thousands of different types of Zippo designs. So it's a really affordable, fun hobby. And obviously, if you do use the lighters for things, whether you smoke or even if you don't smoke, I don't generally smoke. My wife doesn't smoke. We find we're using Zippos all the time for things. You know, you can light a candle with it. You know, around the holidays, right? You light your fireworks and stuff. Melt paracord. I've used Zippos in the past to melt some paracord because it's easy. I can light it, leave it open on the table. I have an open flame, so then I have both hands to manipulate whatever I'm doing to use that flame. So I mean, Zippo lighters are just really cool collectibles, but they're really awesome tools as well. And I want to make this video talking about the table lighter because it really is a big part of their history. The regular Barcroft was extremely popular for decades, and it is a very big collectible for Zippo people. So I wanted to share that with you guys. So hopefully you enjoyed it. Let me know down in the comment section if you collect Zippo lighters. If you do, what kind of stuff do you collect? Back in the day, I collected everything when I was like hardcore Zippo collector. Now, I say that because I still collect Zippo stuff and I'm a Zippo collector. I'm still adding to my collection constantly. Well, I shouldn't say constantly. Back then, I might be looking at stuff, you know, every 2 or 3 weeks I was buying something. Whereas now, you know, if something pops up in a trade, I'll definitely try to get it. And I would say maybe a handful of times a year, I'll look on eBay and really focus on Zippo collectibles. But way back when, I had everything. I had paper advertisements, you know, that were framed all around my room. You know, I had all the different, you know, salesman samples for things. And, you know, Zippo made knives, they made keychains. I mean, you name it. They had all kinds of stuff. George G. Blaisdell really was a great salesman. And he sold so many different Zippo lighters and Zippo products to companies, you know, to advertise. It was a great platform for advertisement because so many people carried a lighter and so many people smoked for decades, you know. But like I said, they branched off and made all kinds of things and slapped that Zippo logo on there. Yeah, pretty interesting stuff though. So I want to make a new Zippo video, and this is a great topic to talk about. Yeah, and also let me know down in the comment section if you despise Monsanto. I think when I saw this one particularly, I thought I had to have that one because it was just so interesting. Again, when this was first made and people saw this name, it meant nothing. But today's day and age, you know, for most people who know about the company and the scandals and all that kind of stuff, it makes it a little bit extra collectible, in my opinion, anyway. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Hopefully, you guys have a fantastic day. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys tomorrow with a brand new video. Take care.